Gulliver travels. A voyage to the country of the Houyhnhnms. The Houyhnhnms hold one of their 4-year grand assemblies while Gulliver is there. They go back to an old debate, whether the Yahoos should be exterminated from the face of the earth. On the side of, yes, they're disgusting and they have to be watched constantly to keep them from doing bad things. The Houyhnhnms caught and tamed their children. The master horse tells his fellows that, in Gulliver's land, Houyhnhnms are the servants and Yahoos are the rational animals. The master horse also informs them about the human practice of sterilizing horses to make them less aggressive. Why don't the Houyhnhnms try this method on young Yahoos of their own country? This way, the Houyhnhnms could make the Yahoos more docile, which would mean they wouldn't need to kill them all. The council agrees to implement this plan. Here the point to note is that from the Houyhnhnm perspective, humans are an invasive species that needs to be restrained. This is more or less the European perspective on horses, an invasive species humans restrain by castration, harnesses, and stables. Having acquired knowledge of the human practice of castration from Gulliver, the master horse can now apply that knowledge to the uses of his own Houyhnhnm society, though now it will be humans, not horses, who get castrated. Gulliver proceeds to detail more of the Houyhnhnms' cultural features. The Houyhnhnms don't write anything down, they rely on oral records for their history. They have a sound knowledge of medicinal herbs for small bruises and such. They also don't have much in the way of astronomy, except to measure months and years. They make simple, sturdy buildings out of trees. They use their front hooves as humans do hands, and they make pottery. Furthermore, they write poetry about friends and family. Unlike the Laputans, Houyhnhnms put their knowledge to practical use and enhance the good of society. Their easy attitude towards death could be considered superior to the human tendency to grieve and lament death, but the Houyhnhnm attitude could just as easily be considered a disturbing emotional numbness. They only ever die of old age and never lament death. In fact, Gulliver recalls one female Houyhnhnm coming to a social lunch gathering a few hours after her husband had died that morning. They take leave of their friends and family before dying. And just one day they disappear. What Gulliver failed to mention here was the process of burial. Gulliver explains that the Houyhnhnms have no words for evil and thus, to express anything bad, they borrow from the deformities or ill qualities of the Yahoos and simply append the word Yahoo to the word of the thing. This linguistic tactic emphasizes that evils and weaknesses are aspects of human, not Houyhnhnm, culture. Now we have themes of Chapter 9, Part 4 of Gulliver's Travel. The theme of perspective. Though Gulliver continually marvels at the otherness and strangeness of the foreign people he's landed among, he is also constantly comparing them to people back home in England, finding analogues or points of comparison for even the least familiar customs. The novel ultimately suggests that one's perspective on reality is even more powerful than reality itself. The theme of society and the state. As Gulliver travels from society to society, he observes each one's organization in detail and compares and contrasts it with the English state. Though all of the societies visited are flawed, several possess some admirable qualities and almost all of them play out the consequences of a particular utopian ideal. Swift admires Houyhnhnm's reason-driven peace and order. But the societies also demonstrate the unfortunate outcome of certain utopian ideals. The Houyhnhnms practice strict family planning, but the plans leave no room for the passionate and beautiful parts of love and marriage. The Houyhnhnms also transcend humanity's ills and evils, but this, too, ends up stripping them of personal identity so that their society lacks humanity's rich vividness and seems to the reader a bit too robotic, even as Gulliver professes to love it. Gulliver himself attempts to live the ideal of uniting with nature by living among the Houyhnhnms, but this commitment only dooms him to dissatisfaction and insanity in the human life he must inevitably return to. Swift never draws up a formula for an ideal state and society because he does not believe that one exists. However, by showing the goods and ills of the vastly different societies Gulliver visits, Swift implicitly points out the errors of human society while also cautioning against the embrace of certain utopian solutions. Theme of truth and deception. Swift presents a mixed message on truth. While his work advocates for honesty among individuals and human governments, it also suggests that life will always contain some degree of unknowability and confusion. Last one is the one relating to knowledge. The novel surveys many different kinds of knowledge and examines the effect they have on the people possessing them. In Brobding and the Land of the Houyhnhnms, the novel considers the kind of political knowledge that both the Brobdingnagian king and the Houyhnhnms lack. Yet, while both are ignorant of gunpowder, Machiavellian strategies, and the use of fear and violence to keep people in line, both organize successful, happy societies that seem much more functional than those governed by the more sophisticated political knowledge of Europe. Political knowledge, practical scientific knowledge. Finally, the novel considers self-knowledge as it is gradually acquired by Gulliver over the course of the novel, most so in Book 4. The novel seems implicitly to advocate a moderate balance between practical and abstract knowledge, between knowledge of the outside world and knowledge of one's own position in it.